Hello and welcome to HT Auto. Today we are at the beautiful Rambagh Palace here in Jaipur to test drive what Mercedes says is a very special car, rather a very special electric car. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the Mercedes-Benz EQA, the fourth all-electric offering from the German manufacturer here in our country after the likes of the EQC, the EQS, the EQE and the EQB. This is essentially based on the GLA and therefore will sit at the very start of the electric vehicle portfolio of the company. But what does that mean for potential buyers? What does the EQA have on offer in terms of range, battery, features? A whole lot of all of these things and much more in this episode, so stay tuned. The EQA essentially is based on the GLA, and in that sense the dimensions, the proportions are identical between the electric version and the internal combustion engine vehicle version of this model. Now where the differences come is that there are 7 color options on the EQA. The matte finish one that you see on this particular unit is absolutely new as well. The grille of course is a closed grille like with electric cars from especially the Mercedes brand, and you get a 3-dimensional TriStar logos here on the front grille. Now the bonnet slopes down a little bit. That is of course to enhance the aerodynamic capabilities of the EQA. Essentially this SUV stands on 19-inch wheels. The alloy design is distinct from the GLA and frankly in my personal opinion looks very sporty. Now because the proportions of the EQA are similar to that of the GLA, don't expect the height, width, wheelbase to change. Instead, on the side it looks like a decently spacious vehicle with large windows on the side. There is some amount of contrast treatment all around the window line. There is a roof rail which is in functional, and over at the back the LED tail lights look quite sporty, quite catchy to the passengers at the back. There is a connecting light as well between the two tail lights stretching all the way across the trunk. Now once you step inside the EQA, you won't be disappointed as long as you're not expecting acres and acres of space. Let me once again remind you that this essentially is the GLA, so even in terms of space on the inside, it's similar to the entry-level combustion engine model from the German manufacturer. But unlike the GLA, the EQA comes fairly strongly kitted in terms of features. Not that the GLA isn't well equipped, but the EQA actually takes things several notches higher. Now for example, much like the alloy wheels that are different on the EQA, the steering wheel, the AMG steering wheel inside this electric car is also different from the GLA, so it's a little bit more sportier. There are elements that are either recycled or upcycled. For example, plastic bottles going to waste have been taken and used to make the upholstery of all the seats that you find inside the EQA. Now generally the feeling that you get still is the GLA in terms of layout, and that's not a bad thing because there is clearly a lot of emphasis on offering a premium appeal. But the EQA, what it does a little different is that with that premium appeal adds on a bit of sporty touch as well. Now the aircon vents are similar to what you've seen on most Mercedes models. The 10.25-inch infotainment screen, the connected display with the driver display is fairly recent, although once again looks still a little too small even in a car that's relatively small like the EQA. But you have a nice driver height and the seats are adjustable of course. There is memory function and the works that you expect from a Mercedes vehicle. Now you also get stuff like wireless charging, a massive sunroof at the top. What is unique in this electric car is that it supports gesture control. So the gesture control for both the passenger and the driver can actually be set for certain functionalities. For example, at present, I thought the screen is a little too bright, so if I want to turn off the screen, then I don't have to navigate through the entire menu on the screen. Instead, what I can do is, and the screen goes off. Space at the back though is at a premium, much like on the GLA. There is a slight floor hump, and thankfully the center console doesn't jut back all too much, but even then there is limited space, especially for passengers who are rather tall, or especially those who would be above 6 feet. Thankfully, I find myself still relatively comfortable because I am 5'8". The boot space too is quite limited. It is at around 360 liters, and that can be a bit of a worry if this car is taken out on highway roads, because considering the fact that this battery is capable of delivering a claimed range of 500 kilometers, the limited boot space can be a bit of a downer. But the real test of an electric vehicle is not really in the features and the flash, but instead it's how it drives and how far it drives. So let's take a look at the EQA on the move. The EQA gets a 70.5 kilowatt battery pack at its core. Now, Mercedes claims that that's good enough for a range of in excess of 500 kilometers, 550 or thereabouts on a full charge. In the real world though, we expect the charge to be around 450, 475, which clearly is also quite impressive. Now of course, here in Jaipur it's a very hot and muggy day, very humid, so we've had the air conditioning on almost at the maximum level, and that really affects the range of any car. But on the EQA, our estimates are we've driven this car so far for about 60 odd kilometers, and the range depreciation, the figures, our estimates suggest that this should at around give you about 400 even in hot summer conditions where the air conditioning is on. The cabin of this car has been mostly loaded. We've had 4 people sitting inside. The boot has been filled too. So all of these factors, of course, not just on the EQA but on any electric car, does affect its range as well. Now there are multiple ways, like in most cars, for you to enhance range. You can of course turn down the air conditioning. On the EQA in particular, there are 4 recuperation modes. You can call them regeneration modes as well. The paddle shifters that you see behind the steering wheel are essentially what helps you to either increase or decrease or completely eliminate any form of regen. Now regen of course helps with one pedal drive technology as well. So right now we are at normal recuperation. I find the strong and the maximum recuperation to be a little too solid. It hinders my personal driving habits, so I've kept it on normal, and well, it has been doing a good job both within the city and on highway stretches. A standout feature of the drive of the EQA of course is that there is very good noise insulation. Now that is something we've really become accustomed to in Mercedes cars, and the EQA is really no exception. But it is silent considering battery and no engine, and yet the whole amount of outside noise is really blocked by the windows, and it just is a very calming experience regardless of what is surrounding you. As far as the power and torque figures are concerned, they are already on your screen. 188 bhp is what the EQA offers, and that's fairly decent, again, regardless of what highway or expressway stretches that you may be on. But circling back to the main moot point, the EQA still, despite its range, both claimed and expected real world, is a car that would primarily be driven within city limits. And of course, unlike the likes of, say, the EQS or its other elder siblings, the EQA is most likely going to be chauffeur driven. As the youngest member of the Mercedes-Benz India electric family, the EQA does a fairly good job of ticking the boxes. Its small and compact proportions can make it an ideal drive option within city limits, but its claimed range is impressive enough to open up the possibility of intercity travel. The cabin is decently loaded with features as well. On the flip side though, the design language, although emphasizing on its aerodynamic profile, is rather uninspiring. The Mercedes-Benz EQA has been launched in the Indian market and is directly locking horns with the likes of the BMW iX1. For even more details of the Mercedes EQA, do not forget to check out our in-depth written review, and for the price, do check out the details in the caption. For now though, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching.